This Honourable House now resumes its sitting. It is always a great honour and pleasure to welcome all of you to the sitting of the Honourable House of Representatives, particularly for today, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Today, we continue the sectoral debate for the financial year 2025-2026, in addition to the usual business of the House. I would like to extend special welcome to the many guests of the Minister from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. A long list of senior executives are here in support of the Minister. Also, let me make special mention of Una Clark, along with her husband, who is here for the presentation of the Leader of Opposition Business, and Mrs. Beverly Anderson Manley Duncan, who is also here to give support. Welcome to the House of Parliament, Prime Minister. Also in the gallery, I'm seeing the High Commissioner of Canada to Jamaica. Welcome to the Houses. Hope you enjoyed today's presentation. And along with the High Commissioner are representatives from the World Bank here to support and to listen to today's presentation, particularly that of Minister Charles from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. No less important are the many persons seated in the gallery in the Parliament today and those joining us on the various social media platforms, particularly PBCJ live stream. Welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's sitting of Parliament. You are reminded that persons in the Parliament are not permitted to clap or to bang on the desk. I am just seeing our former Speaker, former Minister, former what else? Former Member of Parliament, two-haired, it remains white and black, the father of our Minister, Pearnel Charles Sr. Call of the roll.
Mr. Clark. Here. Mr. Bartlett. Dr. Holness. Here. Dr. Chang. Mrs. Williams. Ms. Grange. Mr. Mackenzie. Mr. Chuck. Mr. Vaz. Dr. Tufton. Mrs. Malahoo Fort. Mr. Green. Mr. Charles Jr. Mr. Matthew Samuda, Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Main, Mr. Davis, Mr. Terrelong, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Witter, Dr. Dunn, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brownberg, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Filbert, Ms. Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Enriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Ms. Lee, Mr. Miller, Mr. Montague, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Carl Samuda, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Siblis, Mr. Slowly, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wright, and Dr. Guy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to join you in welcoming members to this sitting of the House today, and particularly to hear from our two members, the Minister of Labour and Social Security, and my opposite number on the other side, the member from Kingston and East Kingston and Port Royal. I also like to welcome the members of the gallery, and particularly, as you indicated, Madam Speaker, the Honorable Una Clark, who was an outstanding Jamaican who has been a legislator herself in the United States and have set the pace for a long range of very powerful Jamaican diaspora contributors to the development of our neighboring giant, the United States of America. We welcome you very especially you're from our side of Jamaica. We also like to welcome the Honorable Pearnel Charles, who himself been a Speaker of this Honorable House and a minister, as well as a trade unionist. A lot of people forget that. A trade unionist of great excellence, in fact, in your time. And a lot of people don't know, but for whatever my sins have been, Pearnel Charles has had something to do with my getting into representative politics, because he actually was the first person who introduced me after I left university to the then leader of the opposition. So, and for that I've done one simple thing, Madam Speaker, and that is to give him a tennis ball and a racket 44 years ago, and you look at him today. And he plays the game every day, he tells me, every morning, and he looks as though he's only, what, 40? Okay. I'd like also to welcome very specially Mrs. Beverly Manley Duncan, who is here with us, the High Commissioner for Canada, who is here, the representative from the World Bank, and the very powerful team of public servants who are here joining the minister and enabling his presentation to have the power that we know it should, and more importantly, to give the hope to the many Jamaicans who are waiting today to hear how that great ministry is going to meet their needs. Madam Speaker, today's session will flow in the normal sense. We are going to allow for the agenda to flow today, because the items are of such that seamlessness will be the order of the day. We will allow for our speakers in the usual way to have the courtesies that we normally extend, and we know that they will always use the time efficiently and well to ensure their full execution. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader. Statement by ministers. Announcements. Clerk.
Laid on the table of the House are the following: annual report and audited financial statements of the National Works Agency for the financial year 2017-2018. Annual report of the Jamaica Vacations Limited for the financial year 2022-2023. Annual report of the Devon House Development Limited for the financial year 2023-2024. GOJ Audit Committee's annual consolidated report for the financial year 2023-2024 and its ministry paper number 23 of 2025, entitled GOJ Audit Committee's annual consolidated report for the financial year 2023-2024. Minister of Labour and Social Security Statistical Bulletin 2024. the Conch Export Levy Rate of Levy Order 2025 and its resolution under the Conch Export Levy Act, the Auditor General's Department Performance Audit Report on the management of the Production Incentive Program by RADA, the National School Nutrition Policy 2025, reports of the Joint Select Committee appointed to conduct the statutory review of the Security Interest in Personal Property Act, and finally, the Auditor General's Department certified appropriation accounts under Head 17,000 for the Ministry of Tourism for the year 2020-2021. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Bills brought from the Senate.
The following is a message from the President of the Senate to the Honorable House of Representatives. I have the honor to advise the Honorable House of Representatives that on the 25th day of April 2025, a bill entitled An Act to Formalize and Advance Teaching as a Profession to contribute to improving the quality of teaching and learning in Jamaica by regulating the entry and standing of members of the teaching profession, to establish and maintain the registers of teachers and the role of instructors, to establish and maintain professional standards for teacher competence and practice, to regulate the professional conduct of teachers to ensure in the interests of students and in the public interest that teachers are fit and proper persons to teach, to create an enabling environment for the continuing professional development of teachers, and for those purposes to establish a body to be called the Jamaica Teaching Council and to provide for connected matters, was passed in the Senate with 38 amendments. The Honorable Thomas Tavares Finson, President of the Senate.
Madam Speaker, I signify my willingness to take charge of the bill.
A bill shortly entitled the Jamaica Teaching Council Act 2025 read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice of the second reading of the bill.
Petitions, papers, reports from committees, Minister of Finance and Public Service.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Joint Select Committee appointed to conduct the statutory review of the Security Interests in Personal Property Act. Madam Speaker, I also beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Joint Select Committee to consider and report on the Insolvency Act 2014.
Notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Joint Select Committee appointed to conduct the statutory review of the Security Interests in Personal Property Act, which was laid on the table of the House on the 13th day of May 2025, be adopted. Madam Speaker, I beg to give further notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. And Madam Speaker, I also beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Joint Select Committee to consider and report on the Insolvency Act 2014, which was laid on the table of the House on the 11th day of February 2025, be adopted. Madam Speaker, I also beg to give further notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
House Leader.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Agriculture, Mining and Fisheries, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House he will move. Whereas Section 3(1)(c)(2) of the Conch Export Levy Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, provides that the Minister may, from time to time, by order, subject to affirmative resolution of the House of Representatives, prescribe the rate of the levy to be paid to the Veterinary Services Division by exporters for any conch season after the 2010 conch season. And whereas, on the 9th day of May 2025, the Minister made the conch export levy rate of levy order 2025. And whereas it is desirable that the conch export levy rate of levy order 2025 be affirmed. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the conch export levy rate of levy order 2025 resolution. And 2. The conch export levy rate of levy order 2025 laid on the table of the House on this 13th day of May 2025 is affirmed. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader. Questions and answers to questions. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, the matters of public business will commence with the continuation of the sectoral debate. And the speakers today will be the Minister of Labour and Social Security and member from Clarendon South East, and also the member for Kingston East and Port Royal. And I would invite you, Madam Speaker, to ask the Minister to make the first presentation. May it please you.
Thank you, House Leader. Members, please join me in making welcome to his feet the Honourable Pearnel Charles Jr., Minister of Labour and Social Security, Member of Parliament for Clarendon North Central, South East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I know my father was excited a while ago. Madam Speaker, firstly, let me crave your indulgence to speak from a seat that is not usually my own. And with your leave, Yes, Madam Speaker, seeking permission to speak from a seat that is not usually my own.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we laid on the table the Social Security Bulletin, and now we'll proceed with the sectoral presentation for the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. Madam Speaker, colleagues, our collective efforts and shared sacrifices have not been in vain. Across communities within every sector and through each challenge, we have remained steadfast in our purpose and we are delivering. The government is delivering on our commitment to strengthen Jamaica's social security framework to build a more inclusive and resilient labour market, and to uplift those who rely on our policies the most. At the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Madam Speaker, we do this, not in abstract terms, but for real people, for every worker, for every family, for every vulnerable citizen. This is the measure of our mission. This is the focus, Madam Speaker, of our progress. And we are delivering today and securing tomorrow. For 9 consecutive years, I have been blessed with the opportunity to serve the people of Jamaica, and this journey has provided me with a deep understanding of both people and policy, as well as a unique platform, Madam Speaker, to contribute meaningfully to nation building. I am profoundly grateful, and I want to give thanks firstly to the Almighty, who continues to guide my steps daily as I grow in faith with every blessing and challenge He places before me. I wish to thank, Madam Speaker, our Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, whose visionary leadership, strategic mind, and compassionate heart continue to inspire a nation. Our Prime Minister has not only placed his trust in me in several portfolios, but remains a tower of strength as he steers Jamaica through its most complex trials and towards its transformative gains. I also, Madam Speaker, acknowledge with sincere appreciation my distinguished colleague and friend, I could never ask for a better Minister of State, Dr. the Honorable Norman Dunn. As well as my diligent Permanent Secretary, Dion Jennings, who is here, and the dedicated team, board chairpersons, directors, managers, and staff at the ministry, many who are here with us today. I want to also acknowledge our team in the parish offices and in every department and agency connected to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, as well as our partners, both local and international. Madam Speaker, while each ministry has a distinct mandate, we are all united in a common national purpose. And I want to thank my cabinet colleagues, fellow members of Parliament, public servants, all stakeholders whose collective commitment continues to shape a stronger Jamaica. Speaking of Jamaica, Madam Speaker, allow me to extend my heartfelt appreciation to my Southeast Clarendon family. I want to thank many who are here today, and I want to thank, Madam Speaker, my constituents for their unwavering support, their prayers, and their partnership in this shared mission. My gratitude extends to my management and constituency teams, councillors, caretakers, party workers who work tirelessly each day to serve one of the largest constituencies in this country. I want to also thank my exceptional executive team, close protection officers, and all who ensure that I am informed, grounded, and safe. Madam Speaker, the foundation of my commitment to public service was laid by my parents and continue to be fortified by my family. I want to thank my father, who is here, senior chief in the family, senior chief, Pearnel Child Senior. That's a signal. That is signaling. And I want to thank also and his beautiful wife, who, with other mothers, we want to say to them all, happy belated Mother's Day. I want to thank my siblings, including, Madam Speaker, my distinguished sister and fellow parliamentarian, the Member of Parliament from St. Thomas Eastern, Dr. Michelle Charles. And I want to thank her for always having my back, and you see where she is today. Madam Speaker, none of this would be possible without the unyielding support and immeasurable sacrifices of my wife and children. To them, your love sustains me, and I thank you with every fiber of my being for allowing me to be here to give my best to Jamaica. Madam Speaker, let's get going. We have a lot to do, and so we get straight to it. Madam Speaker, protecting and supporting persons with disabilities is a national responsibility, and at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, our commitment remains strong. In fact, Madam Speaker, the JCPD, the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, has seen a 17.4 million or 262% increase in budgetary allocation for this financial year 25-26. This is aimed at providing more access to quality social services and financial support while advocating for full inclusion. Madam Speaker, we are partnering with Statin to conduct a crucial national census to gain the accurate data on the population and to locate persons with disabilities. This is essential. Madam Speaker, a key barrier that we have identified was our outdated analog registry and also the registration process, which required in-person visits and created significant challenges for applicants. Recognizing this, we are actively working to modernize the process to ensure that no one is left behind. Madam Speaker, as a testament to our unwavering commitment to transforming lives at the ministry, we have made a substantial financial donation, as an example, to a mother and daughter duo. This donation of over $1 million stands as the largest ever granted to a single household for the purchasing of hearing aids to assist persons who are in dire need. Matter of fact, Madam Speaker, I think they're actually here. Couldn't hear. Ask them. Stand. Yes. And we acknowledge them, Madam Speaker. This assistance represents not only a life-changing opportunity for them, but also an affirmation of the government's commitment to uplifting vulnerable individuals through meaningful and impactful support. Both mother and daughter suffer from profound hearing loss, and the recommended hearing aids are the state-of-the-art Widex MRR4D rechargeable digital hearing aids. They were selected for their exceptional quality and effectiveness in assisting with profound hearing loss, Madam Speaker. And so both beneficiaries have been given the support so that they are retrofitted with this hearing aid, and also the retrofitting will be done by a renowned audiologist, followed by training to familiarize them with the new devices. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has committed itself to provide continuous support, including resources for vocational training and potential employment opportunities also for both mother and daughter. This extraordinary initiative highlights the ministry's dedication to empower families and for us also to protect our most vulnerable citizens. This is our mission at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. Madam Speaker, this is why we are pushing for a more inclusive society for individuals with disabilities. We are delivering today and securing tomorrow. Madam Speaker, in a very bold step toward inclusion and accessibility, I am pleased today to announce the launch of the I Am Able app, a groundbreaking tool that will revolutionize how persons with disabilities interact with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, and by extension, interact with the ministry. This initiative is in collaboration with UNICEF, and it will be launched in June. Individuals using it will be able to register or to renew their status with the I Am Able JCPD app using mobile phone, simply by uploading their photos of the TRN and other documents that are required. The app also provides real-time updates on the registration process. It reduces the approval time from 30 days to just mere minutes, and this is a big part, Madam Speaker, of our drive towards efficiency in the ministry. We are targeting 25,000 individuals with this innovation, and it eliminates the need for persons to travel to the ministry offices and therefore removes a major barrier to access. Importantly, Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities were directly involved as well in the testing of the app to ensure that it meets their specific needs and not just what we think the persons with disabilities should want. The app offers further benefits, including the applications for tax exemptions, grants, and other forms of support, at your fingertips. And also, Madam Speaker, a national education campaign will be rolled out by the JCPD to ensure widespread awareness and usage. With the I Am Able app, we are using today's transformation to build tomorrow's future, ensuring, again, that no one is left behind. Madam Speaker, the Ministry is also launching simultaneously a comprehensive sensitization drive in partnership with key stakeholders like the Abilities Foundation and service clubs to maximize access and awareness of the I Am Able app. The JCPD will also expand its outreach, and the initiative will enhance coordination across the country, enhance connectivity, and also improve support for persons with disabilities. This is a national effort. I call on all members of Parliament to get involved. And this national effort underscores our commitment to inclusion and will require a growing cadre of specialists, including therapists, social workers, and also artificial intelligence experts. Madam Speaker, to meet this need, we are exploring the creation of the I Am Able Support Network, which will include special scholarships for individuals pursuing studies in disability-related fields and other specialized areas aligned with the Ministry's work. We will also seek to allocate dedicated funding to support this critical initiative and to provide meaningful care and support to the hundreds of Jamaicans, both children and adults with disabilities. Madam Speaker, as a country, we have a duty. We have a duty to promote access for persons with disabilities. I'm pleased also, Madam Speaker, to announce that the accessibility checklist, the using the accessibility checklist, which we launched last year, we have used that checklist, and it has commenced across the country and has led now to several accessibility audits, which will help us to ensure that the use of the checklist for improved access is actually being implemented, and for the building standards to meet the minimum standards required under the Disabilities Act. Moving right along, Madam Speaker, to the early stimulation program. Madam Speaker, likewise, the budgetary allocation given to the early stimulation program, which is that program that focuses on children with disabilities under the age of 6, that program has seen a 640% increase over last year's spend. In the last financial year, Madam Speaker, over 6,000 children below the age of 6 with disabilities received training, assistive devices, and grants. Approximately 3,000 children from 290 communities across the island benefited from early intervention services and that's all right. And voila, Mr. Speaker. Approximately 3,000 children from over 290 communities across the island benefited from early intervention services, and nearly 2,000 accessed physiotherapy. Mr. Speaker, we will be expanding the interventions this year to these children and others in the parishes of Manchester, Hanover, as well as Trelawney. Mr. Speaker, I want to specially acknowledge a young man by the name of Joshua Hall. Though he could not be here today because he's having exams, Joshua Hall stands as a beacon of determination and resilience, as a proud success story of the ministry's early stimulation program. Diagnosed with developmental delays at a very early age, Joshua was enrolled in the ESP, where he received specialized support, therapies, and early intervention services tailored to his unique needs. Today, Joshua is the holder of 8 CHCs and he is currently pursuing a bachelor's degree at the University of Technology, Jamaica. Madam Speaker, his journey is a reminder to all of us of the transformative impact of early intervention and the importance of inclusive education. Madam Speaker, we move on, Mr. Speaker, we move on to PATH, the Program of Advancement through Health and Education. The true strength of a nation is not always seen in the grand achievements or public accolades. It's found in the acts of care for its most vulnerable, those who sometimes are not seen or heard. Before we at the ministry speak of policies and initiatives, we speak first of the people. And behind every policy, Mr. Speaker, is a human story. Behind every number is a life, someone's mother, father, child, or neighbor. And these are the lives that guide our work at the ministry and remind us why this mission matters. Mr. Speaker, at its core, PATH seeks to promote human capital development of the poor and to reduce intergenerational poverty. That's it. Our Prime Minister, in recognizing this and in recognizing the need to protect the most vulnerable, gave very clear instructions to transform PATH to ensure that it reaches those who need it the most. With this in mind, Mr. Speaker, my Minister of State and I, along with our team, we have set out on a mission. We journeyed across the length and breadth of Jamaica, holding several town hall meetings and stakeholder engagements with over 1,000 Jamaicans. Let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, what we heard was powerful. We listened, and we have taken their input and concerns seriously. Mr. Speaker, we have established the Technical Path Review Committee, composed of local experts working in tandem with international partners to guide the development of a more inclusive and relevant approach to the identification of beneficiaries. Additionally, through partnership with the World Bank, we are now completing a comprehensive assessment of PATH. This includes an analysis of the processes and targeting methodology and a thorough assessment of the automated system we use for beneficiary selection. And many Jamaicans, many Jamaicans have expressed their concern and sometimes frustration with this system that is utilized for beneficiary selection. This assessment is ongoing, and we expect to improve the effectiveness of the program, including the accuracy in selecting families in need. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sorry. While we await the final report, we are not standing still. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we are moving with urgency. We are taking decisive action to correct the issues with our beneficiary management information system, which is the BMIS that we speak of, through which PATH is administered. As a result of our ongoing work, Mr. Speaker, families whose benefits were interrupted, listen carefully, listen to this, Mr. Speaker. Again, we are waiting for the final report, but in the interim, we are not standing still. We are moving forward. Families whose benefits were interrupted will resume receiving their benefits within the next 3 payment cycles, and that is hundreds, maybe thousands of families. We are currently also advancing this process and determining the most feasible route to remove the existing digital barrier. Importantly, Mr. Speaker, technology for us, it must enable, not impede, service delivery. Mr. Speaker, additionally, the ministry has implemented an accelerated strategy to transition PATH applications from provisionally approved status within the last 12 months to registered status. What that means is that thousands of households that have been waiting will now be transitioned with urgency. This means that over 3,000 additional families will start receiving support in this financial year. And as I know it will be asked, let me say it. Of that number, already more than 600 families have been identified and transitioned and we are in the process, and they should start receiving PATH benefits by June of this year. Mr. Speaker, education is key. It's a linchpin. That is the most vital and fundamental mainstay in alleviating poverty. And this financial year, 25-26, will see a significant increase in the value of tertiary bursaries and post-secondary grants offered to students in PATH households. We have increased the funding for PATH social assistance for tertiary bursaries, post-secondary grants, and steps to work by 54.19%, Mr. Speaker. This is a significant budgetary increase from last year's 479 million to now 740 million for the financial year. This is going to significantly improve the lives of thousands of families across Jamaica as we continue to deliver today and secure tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, the PATH review that we speak of has also reiterated the increasing demand for social services and the need for Jamaica to have additional social workers so that we can effectively deliver our welfare programs. With that in mind, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service has welcome. Yes. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
Nice to see you, man.
Mr. Speaker, let the Hansard read. Mr. Speaker, let the Hansard read that Sir Phillips has come to support me in my sectoral presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance and Public Service has approved an additional 200 positions for social workers. And I'm happy to announce, and I know that several students and social workers are listening out. Matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, on social media, there were a group of students, I think from UWI or UTEC, that put together a catalog indicating that they are ready to serve. For all of you, we will start the recruitment in this financial year, and we are waiting for you to become a part of our team, and we're going to move to ensure that you help to strengthen our ability to deliver today and to secure tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, we know that PATH has always represented a significant proportion of the budget for social assistance, and we have increased, hear me again, we have increased the allocation for PATH beneficiary assistance from 9.3 billion in last year to almost 9.8 billion this year to accommodate the projected increase in the beneficiary population in this financial year. And this is an increase that is significant and that should target more than 22,000 additional persons. Moving on, Mr. Speaker, to the social intervention program, a very important program that Jamaica needs to take hold of. The social intervention program, or what we call SIP, continues to play a vital role in empowering Jamaica's youth, particularly those who come from very vulnerable backgrounds, through strong partnerships with employer groups, through partnerships with different companies and ministries. The program provides on-the-job training and enhances marketable skills, creating meaningful opportunities for these youngsters who are unemployed and many times feel underemployed. Beneficiaries also contribute to their communities by completing 40 hours of mandatory service. And, Mr. Speaker, for us, this is important as it fosters a culture of volunteerism, which is also important nationally. Last year, SIP launched an interactive employers forum to engage existing partners and to help us to attract new partners, with some 249 participants. For this year, we aim to double that number, Mr. Speaker, expanding the program's reach nationwide and helping us to provide more opportunities for more youngsters across our country. And we want to take the opportunity to thank all of our employer partners for their invaluable support and to reaffirm our commitment to the vision of us together delivering today and securing tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, we have a lot, so we're going to move swiftly ahead to the Solidarity Grant. As announced by our Prime Minister, this is the $1 billion anticipated allocation to provide a one-off $20,000 grant to 50,000 unattached and vulnerable Jamaicans who are not on path, not receiving NIS pension or any other established social program. Mr. Speaker, to be clear, the target groups under the Solidarity Program are youth who are not engaged in education or employment at this time. 2, elderly persons who are in need, who are not now on social pension or receiving pension. 3, persons with disabilities who are facing hardship. 4, medically indigent individuals. 5, low-income informal workers in need. And 6, micro-businesses that have been affected by disaster, of which we know we have many. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry, in partnership with the Information and Communication Technology Authority, ICTA, which we know formally as eGov, will also utilize what we call the Solidarity Platform, which was the previous platform used also for CARE. We'll use that platform to deliver this support to the beneficiaries. While we are now in the process of still finalizing the full implementation framework, we have thus far proposed a 3-pronged approach to the beneficiary identification and support. First, members of Parliament will work directly with our Solidarity team to identify at least 300 eligible beneficiaries within their constituencies.
300.
Secondly, Solidarity liaison officers will conduct targeted outreach and support the selection process through orientation sessions and by working closely with NGOs, community leaders, service clubs, and churches to ensure inclusion of those who are most in need. Thirdly, individuals will also have the opportunity to apply independently through the Solidarity digital platform, and they will have the same assessments that were effected using the CARE platform previously. Now, these 3 channels, Mr. Speaker, will form a hybrid system designed to ensure that the program is comprehensive, inclusive, and responsive. And this initiative is not only to provide immediate relief, but integrated into the initiative are different elements to connect beneficiaries to long-term services such as social protection programs and job readiness support, helping them to transition into the labor force and the formal economy. And the more details will come later. I'll give you an example. A youngster, for instance, who is not in current school and is not employed, who will be receiving a benefit under Solidarity, we would want to encourage that youngster to sign up to our electronic labor exchange platform and also to get involved in job readiness training. It is not intended for this to just be a transfer of a grant, but a transfer of a grant that's coupled with long-term sustainable support. In short order, the Ministry will inform the public of the the further details upon confirmation of the formal application process. But I assure you that it will be accessible, transparent, and inclusive. Moving on to the National Council for Senior Citizens, Mr. Speaker. Our senior citizens are among Jamaica's most valuable assets, possessing a wealth of knowledge, experience, and skill. As the population ages, it is our national duty to protect their health, safety, livelihoods, and dignity. To this end, a working committee has been actively developing standards to establish the foundation for the care and protection of our elderly. We aim to issue to Jamaica drafting instructions for the elder care legislation by the end of this financial year. That will be instrumental. This year, Mr. Speaker, we will prioritize conducting an organizational review for the institutional strengthening of the NCSE, which is the National Council for Senior Citizens. Our goal is to equip it with the additional resources needed so that it can effectively provide critical services to our seniors, and this will be a priority in this financial year. Additionally, we are empowering our seniors 60 and over through expanded learning opportunities. The NCSE, in collaboration with Heart NSTA Trust, trained recently 43 senior citizens in digital literacy, including online banking, cyber safety, and the service application usage, and all of these seniors earned certifications from City and Guilds. In addition, Mr. Speaker, through support from the Universal Service Fund, all graduates will receive either a laptop or a tablet to further their digital literacy skills. Matter of fact, last Friday, we proudly, in collaboration with both HEART and USF, handed over 8 laptops to 8 of the top graduates of the program, including one of the top-notch 89-year-old graduates from the program. Excellent. Who promptly told me that she's a few months older than my father. The training of an additional 30 senior citizens will commence this week. On to social pension program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 2021, this government implemented the social pension program. This is a program that enhances support to Jamaicans over 75 years old who have no pension and are not on path and lack steady incomes. Mr. Speaker, this program aims to ensure that these seniors can age with dignity, security, and independence. It is a support. This is a part of our broader commitment to building a just society that cares for every generation. Now, to strengthen this support, Mr. Speaker, we will begin to transition eligible elderly beneficiaries from PATH automatically to social pension program. That transition will see them receiving a 100% increase in the benefit. And we are also improving access to benefits while safeguarding the program's sustainability, always balancing, Mr. Speaker, compassion with fiscal responsibility. Moving quickly to the National Insurance Scheme. Mr. Speaker, we recognize the ongoing challenges that pensioners face. I receive several handwritten letters from our pensioners, and I treasure them. Several across the country have explained to me their concerns with the life certificates. In response, we are working with the ICT authority to launch the AmAlive mobile and web applications. This will utilize facial recognition technology and provide proof of life, and certainly is going to reduce the need for our pensioners to travel to parish or out of parish or to the post offices. However, Mr. Speaker, there are some pensioners who write to me and indicate that they want to travel, and that experience may not mean a lot to you, but when they get a chance on the month to pick up at the post office or to go to the office, it's something they treasure. And we don't want to take that away from them, not from you, Fitz. For those who prefer traditional methods, paper-based and email submissions will continue to be accepted for now. The NIF, Mr. Speaker, the National Insurance Fund. Now, as at March 31, 2025, the National Insurance Fund boasts an increase, I said, an increase in the net asset value from approximately 194 billion in March 2024 to $227 billion in March 2025. Mr. Speaker, good management, good government. This represents a 17% increase over last year. And in light, hear me now, hear ye, in light of the performance of the NIF and based on the recent actual review, I am pleased to announce to Jamaica that all National Insurance Scheme pensioners will receive an increase in their benefits. Mr. Speaker, with effect from April 1, 2025, the increases will apply to benefits under the NIS. With effect from April 1. I'll explain when they will start. All age, you know, you came here to support me. Settle down, settle down, settle down. I'm gonna text you when I talk to Mikel. All age widowers, and invalidity pensions will move as follows. Pensioners who now receive 4,200 per week will see an increase to 4,620 per week. Pensioners who receive 3,500 will see an increase to 3,850, from 3,000 to 3,300. And the old age widowers and invalidity grant will increase from 60 to 65,000. The special child and orphan pension will increase from 6,000 to 6,600 per week. And while the special child and orphan grant will increase from $75,000 to $80,000. The sugar workers' pension will increase from $3,000 to $3,300. Employment injury benefit will increase from $4,200 per week to $4,620. And the funeral grant will increase from $150,000 to $160,000. Mr. Speaker, I want to note that the maternity allowance, which is pegged to the national minimum wage, will see domestic workers receiving also an increase to $16,000 effective June 1, 2025. All the other increases, Mr. Speaker, will take effect, as I said, April 1, with payments beginning in August 2025. In the case of NI Gold, which is the health insurance benefit provided to NIS pensioners, the benefit levels will increase effective July 1, 2025. Mr. Speaker, we will continue reforms to not only optimize financial performance of the fund, but also to monitor its long-term financial sustainability. And in the upcoming year, the NIF will embark on high priority initiatives, including the continued revision and implementation of investment policies aimed at minimizing risk exposure. We'll continue the strategic review and realignment of the fund's real estate assets to improve overall portfolio performance, and the development and renovations of key properties to align with market demand, compliance standards, and to ensure operational efficiency. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the NIF will be embarking on some critical priority initiatives to include the development and the renovations of properties, including our own parish offices. This includes, but is not limited to, Harbour Street, Knutsford Boulevard, Ripon Road, Trelawney, and St. Mary Parish Office. Additionally, the architectural design to commence for the development of the lands that we own in Clarendon Parish have started and will be advanced in this financial year. Many times, Mr. Speaker, we receive complaints from seniors who express difficulty with the current circumstances, and we hear you, and we are moving ahead to ensure that we utilize the funds in the best way possible for those clients that we serve. We're going to continue to enhance the fund's investment strategies, again to ensure optimal rates of return while also maintaining stability and sustainability. With this, we continue to deliver right now, today, while securing tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, rebuild Jamaica. The impact of Hurricane Beryl cannot be understated. It was significant. Many Jamaicans, thousands, have been affected. And despite the widespread devastation, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security mobilized strategically to deliver a coordinated disaster relief response. I want to pause at this time just to give thanks and acknowledgement to my permanent secretary, chief technical directors, every single social worker and staff member of the ministry, who I can tell you were out and working tirelessly, despite the fact that many of them were victims of the hurricane. Many of them had their roofs damaged and their houses damaged, and family members were damaged. And they were out giving their service. We want to give thanks to them. Through this initiative, through the Rebuild Jamaica initiative, over 16,000 households received emergency cash grants amounting to more than $1.4 billion from the government of Jamaica. In partnership with humanitarian agencies, Mr. Speaker, we additionally gave support. We assessed more than 19,000 households for damage, and we distributed more than 22,000 food packages, along with several other essential supplies. In the face of this crisis, we stood united as one people, one government, with a single mission: to bring relief, to restore hope, and to help our fellow Jamaicans to rebuild and to recover stronger than before. Mr. Speaker, through these strategic partnerships with the World Food Programme, Inter-American Development Bank, United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, Food for the Poor, several others, as well as the private sector.
Mr. Speaker, the member's time for speaking having expired, I beg to move that his time be extended by 15 minutes to allow him to complete his presentation.
Members, the request is on the floor that the presenter time be extended by 15 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, you may continue. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was saying, so with the partnerships with several of those organizations, as mentioned, Food for the Poor, private sector, other non-government and faith-based organizations, as well as across government, particularly with the Ministry of Local Government, and we give thanks to the support from Minister Mackenzie and his team as well. We extended additional support to our most vulnerable, including children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities. Now, with all that knowledge, Mr. Speaker, I move now to satellite offices, because one of the discussions that we have been having is to expand the network, the footprint of the ministry. And we remain committed to increasing accessibility. So it means not only having persons come to you, but going to the communities. And we have this people-centered approach, Mr. Speaker, which has led to us having currently 26 satellite locations operational across 7 parishes in Jamaica, bringing the essential services closer to residents, particularly in remote areas, including communities such as Mount Moriah in St. Anne, Adelphi in St. James, Kellits in Clarendon, and most recently in Castleton, St. Mary, 2 weeks ago. The ministry aims to establish satellite services in all parishes by the end of this financial year, providing improved convenience and access for all of our clients. Again, Mr. Speaker, we are not waiting. We are delivering today while we also secure tomorrow. In doing so, we never forget the importance of productivity. And I turn to the Jamaica Productivity Center. Mr. Speaker, when we speak of work, we know that if Jamaica is to grow, Jamaica must unlock its potential. Productivity is a national priority, and it has been reiterated repeatedly by our Prime Minister, myself, and also Minister Dunn, who drives this area. We have emphasized that productivity is a lifestyle. It is not about working harder, but working smarter, rather, through innovation and efficient use of time and resources. The JPC, the Jamaica Productivity Center, leads this effort in keeping with the thrust of the government and the emphasis of our Prime Minister. In this financial year, Mr. Speaker, the JPC will roll out productivity toolkits. More individuals and businesses operating in our country will have access to this very simple yet effective tool that will assist them in their own self-assessment and productivity improvement. These will support what we now have as snapshot audits, which is a free 4-hour service of us assessing your business and to help you by delivering to you high-quality productivity assessments. To foster now, Mr. Speaker, a very early mindset towards productivity, we're going to have a special student edition toolkit launched for students at all levels. And as part of the Productivity in Schools campaign, this is going to help us to support the learning improvement through a 5-minute self-assessment where all students, particularly those who are right now taking exams, will be able to use this tool to help them to become more productive. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, we are developing a 7-pronged productivity improvement ecosystem. And this will include 7 things. 1, a national productivity awareness campaign. 2, productivity training and workshops. 3, research and knowledge sharing. 4, youth and school engagement. 5, sector-specific interventions. 6, toolkits and resources. And 7, partnerships with national and international agencies. Mr. Speaker, in the booklets that will be provided, there's a QR code available, and these will be across the country for persons to access what I've just spoken about. Mr. Speaker, moving on now to labor. Let me begin by making it absolutely clear. The conversation on labor has moved now way beyond the mere availability of labor. Recent events have also underscored a very pressing truth. If we are going to achieve productivity, we must place far greater emphasis on quality, standards, and affordability as central pillars of resilience in our labor market, not just availability. It means that we are building an ecosystem across ministries and in partnership with the private sector to ensure that this national priority is all of our business. As a nation, we have to continue to invest in programs, Mr. Speaker, that produce the most competent workers with the right attitude, individuals who execute their duties with diligence, consistency, integrity, and a commitment to excellence. That is what will inspire public trust and have them at your door at 3 a.m. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, employment and labor stability must be seen as the backbone of sustainable development and lasting prosperity. We need competent workers with the right attitude. And so, as a country, we are working to make sure that the job readiness programs, the career work fairs, are spread across every single parish. We continue, however, to celebrate the achievements based on the work that has been done of the historic decline in unemployment, reaching the low of 3.5% in October of last year. Now, this is not just a statistic. For us at the ministry, who assess this and work across waters, this is a signal of a country in the right direction. This is a signal of progress. This is a signal of our potential. Mr. Speaker, while we celebrate that success, as I said, we are working to make sure that we upskill and that we do extensive work to strengthen the labor market intelligence and to take advantages of the opportunities for future work. Let me also formally, Mr. Speaker, move to national minimum wage. Since 2016, the minimum wage has increased by 158%. As of June 1, it will increase again to $16,000 per 40-hour work week. This, Mr. Speaker, reflects the government's ongoing commitment to improving the lives of the low-income earners and ensuring broader participation in Jamaica's growing economy. Mr. Speaker, let me just note that this is the 5th increase since 2016. I raise that while moving on to industrial relations and just indicating that we at the ministry have noted that we have been able to maintain a relatively stable and harmonious industrial relations climate. Late last year, Mr. Speaker, we had instances of industrial action, mainly in the tourism sector. However, through our leadership and support and guidance, the parties in most, if not all instances, arrived at amicable resolution. This is something that I want to acknowledge. We have an approach that provides an open, enabling environment for all to come and for dialogue to be constructive. This is not a win for the ministry. This is a win, Mr. Speaker, for Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, time is on me, so I'll skip through. Just to indicate that as it relates to flexi-work arrangements, in June, we will be participating in the ILO conference that focuses on the global standards for platform work. Because so many of our youngsters now, well, not just youngsters, so many of us as Jamaicans are involved in flexi work, whether it is that we have a primary job and have chosen to have an additional, or whether it is your primary job. And this is going to guide what we do in terms of the Employment Flexible Work Arrangements Act, which was passed in 2014. And that, Mr. Speaker, I must say, was passed under the stewardship of Pearnel Charles Sr., then Minister of Labor at that time. Yes, a good man, I'm heard. Moving quickly ahead, based on the time constraint, Mr. Speaker, I want to make note that Jamaica has launched last year, November, the Jamaica Just Transition Project. This is a very important project. It is a 2-year initiative of the ministry supported by the ILO and the UNDP to infuse climate action with decent work and social justice principles through research, stakeholder sensitization, and enterprise-level policies. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we are going to also continue to raise awareness, inform, educate, and empower job seekers, workers, and employers through our labor standard awareness campaign, which is continuing across the country. Many of you would have taken part in our MLSS on the Go programs, where you see career fairs from Montego Bay straight down to St. Thomas. Mr. Speaker, I will move through some of the areas based on the time and move straight to the new era of work. But I ask colleagues and those who don't get a chance or perhaps won't get a chance to hear me, to take a read. We will place it on the website so that they can see what we're doing in terms of child labor and the Jamaica Household Workers Union, as well as our Decent Work Country program. Mr. Speaker, we're taking a very comprehensive approach to employment, and we have developed and adopted a two-pronged strategy. The future of work and the way workers prefer to work must be recognized in this modern and integrated labor management system. What we see is two streams. It's either that you work for yourself and you're self-employed, or you work for others. And we've continued to assess the issues as presented by employees. And we want to take the time to encourage persons. We are trying to push for more persons to become entrepreneurial, Mr. Speaker, in a manner that will move us from informal to formal. What we have seen also is that the ministry, working across with stakeholders, has been able to provide significant support to both persons who are employed and who are entrepreneurs. That will continue to be a priority for us. However, we're going to change the conversation a bit from just simply viewing it as employment to, again, seeing yourself as a part of a productivity ecosystem contributing to the value of growth in our country. Mr. Speaker, with that in mind, I want to announce the creation of what we have determined as the National Skills Bank. This is going to be a collaborative approach, collaborative meaning across ministries, and an all-encompassing database designed for us to identify Jamaicans and to identify where do we have the labor shortages and where do we have any mismatched skill set allocation. It will effectively guide and redirect workforce planning. It's going to help us to forecast future demand for skills and to help us to lead in a way in terms of creating an upskilling and cross-skilling culture. Mr. Speaker, we're working with HeartTrust and working across government to make sure that this national skills database is going to extend. I want to also invite all members of Parliament to make sure that you have in your own constituencies a list of all persons who are either potential or who have skills and need that support to be matched between skill and jobs. I'm told I have 1 minute, Mr. Speaker, so moving quickly ahead. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Speaker, very importantly, the Occupational Safety and Health Bill is the centerpiece of our legislative commitment to guarantee to Jamaica the importance of protecting our workers. Following multiple reviews and submissions, I can say that we are further advanced than we've ever been before. We have completed and now have provided new instructions issued in February to the Office of the Parliamentary Counsel, and we now await the revised draft. Finalizing and approving this bill, Mr. Speaker, is a top priority for this financial year. I hear, but let me just state. We are intent.
5 minutes to complete.
Minister, without the request being asked for, I'm going to allow you 3.5 minutes to wrap up.
5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I would like to make that request. Mr. Speaker, I think that...
Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask and move that the Speaker be given sufficient time to complete his excellent presentation to this House on a most important portfolio topic. A most important. So I would like to put that to the House.
Madam Speaker, back to rule.
Members, the question is that the member be allowed 5 additional minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes. Let me move swiftly ahead. Madam Speaker, I'll skip over and move straight to work permit. Madam Speaker, we have instituted a very important operation called Operation Streamline, a bold and strategic initiative aimed at improving the work permit system in Jamaica, launched to eliminate backlogs and enhance efficiency. Now, I know that several have expressed concerns about the efficiency of this program, of the work permit system rather, and this program has seen us, I would say, addressing multiple permits that were more than 8 weeks and providing a more clear, an enhanced pathway to really getting it done. Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate that work permits are not issued to displace Jamaicans, but rather to bring into Jamaica critical skills that lead many times to the local job creation and local job training and certification. A key example is the German Ship Repair Jamaica, which is a shipyard in Rockfort where foreign nationals have been brought in. They receive work permits, and over the last year, we saw a significant transfer of knowledge to several Jamaicans coming out of HART, coming out of CMU, enhancing Jamaica's labor force through the support of the work permit system. We're going to continue that, Madam Speaker, as well as we will continue to remain committed to monitoring and enforcing all businesses and to request that do comply with the Foreign Nationals and Commonwealth Citizens Act and to ensure that our inspectors are out to make sure adherence to the rule of law in our country. Under Operation Streamline, Madam Speaker, we will also implement a fully digitized application system in this financial year. This will see us eliminating a lot of the concerns and reducing paperwork and improving the turnaround time for processing with clear service standards. The modernization of this system is ongoing. Matter of fact, we are now on to multiple user acceptance testing to be done very soon. Madam Speaker, let me move to SPIRO, Social Protection and Increased Resilience and Opportunity, which was announced just to indicate to the country that SPIRO is critical. SPIRO is a $20 million initiative supported by the World Bank. And I want to give thanks to the representative who is here today. Launched last year, SPIRO represents a transformative shift in the social government. It's going to have 3 strategic pillars, Madam Speaker. The creation of a unified social protection information system, which is important. It is a game changer. 2, support to the introduction of unemployment insurance and also the modernization of the labor market information system. The project is already generating impact through comprehensive assessments led by expert consultants who are here, and those consultants are working hard with our team to overhaul the labor market services. We're also going to see upgrades to the Electronic Labor Exchange as well as the LMIS to enhance the digital infrastructure for employment services. Madam Speaker, as it relates to unemployment insurance, at a later date I'll go into further details, but one of the key lessons that we learned during the pandemic is that you have to have some system, something to respond to the urgent need of many Jamaicans who may lose their jobs. This unemployment insurance is going to be able to help them to remain financially stable while seeking re-employment. And in response, we are proud to indicate that Cabinet has approved the introduction of unemployment insurance benefit, which will also be added now to the suite of benefits provided by the NIS. Moving finally, Madam Speaker, Farm Work Program, or what we properly call the Overseas Employment Program. This program continues to provide vital employment for Jamaicans globally. Simply put, our Farm Work Program, as it is known, is stronger now than before, and the numbers traveling have increased by 10% over the same period last year. Since January to the first week in May, a total of 6,451 persons have traveled for the overseas program, with over 3,800 workers being placed in Canada and the United States since the start of this financial year. Notably, last year we had a total of 14,350 workers placed in jobs in Canada and the United States, underscoring, Madam Speaker, the strong reputation of Jamaican workers and the positive impact of our reform measures. Madam Speaker, challenges for some create opportunities for others, and Jamaica is positioning itself to capitalize on the global shifts that may very well see an increase in demand for overseas workers in North America. With the reassignment of Permanent Secretary Roberts Risden to oversee the North America operations, Jamaica has strategically placed high-level leadership there to enhance our negotiations and to expand our footprints to new horizons for opportunities. Madam Speaker, this is important. When we traveled, we listened to our farm workers. And one of the primary concerns for the farm workers was the medical processing. Several concerns raised about the cost and the necessity of some of these tests before they are able to travel. Since the inception of this program, there has been a requirement for a medical check to be performed in order for workers to go to Canada. Madam Speaker, in an effort to improve the service delivery to Canadian farm workers, we have continued to have the medical checkups and to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the program. However, we are announcing today, Madam Speaker, that the medical examination process for farm workers traveling to Canada will be overhauled, and a new system will be put in place for persons traveling in the program for the 2026 season. This will be done with the guidance of experts from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, with whom my ministry has already started to communicate, and this will coincide with the planned celebrations of the 60th anniversary of the program being recognized in 2026. Madam Speaker, as we continue our upgrades to this program, the ministry has also invested in infrastructure upgrades at its East Street facility. We have improved the dormitories and administrative spaces, with further improvements planned for the medical and bathroom areas. Again, in recognition of the 60 years of the Jamaica-Canada Labour Partnership, the ministry is going to launch a 60th anniversary scholarship program. 60 scholarships valued at $150,000 each will be awarded in September 2026 to children of active farm workers pursuing tertiary education. This is a tribute to the parents' dedication. Additionally, Madam Speaker, the ministry continues to focus on employment readiness. Out of over 4,000 applicants that we got last year, 2,459 candidates were selected after participating in literacy, numeracy, and psychometric testing. Very important. Of these candidates, 2,300 completed training through Heart NSTA Trust in key workplace skills. First time. Some candidates, however, were not successful, but they are not sent back, Madam Speaker. Those candidates are referred for remedial training. 77 individuals were given who have other marketable skills, were not sent for training, but were directed to the Labor Market Information System for job placement, and 576 who didn't fit in those two categories were referred to be considered for micro-business support so that they can get a grant. So no one left behind means we're not leaving anyone behind. Those who didn't get into the farmer program, we have something else for you to do. Finishing up, Madam Speaker. The liaison service continues to collaborate with overseas employers. I think you might want to hear this. You might want to hear this one. The liaison service continues to collaborate with overseas employers to enhance health and safety measures for Jamaican workers. While injured workers typically receive care and financial support through Ontario's Workplace and Safety Insurance Board, some have found the assistance insufficient. In response, Madam Speaker, colleagues, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is launching an enhanced injury benefit initiative in partnership with the Workplace and Safety Insurance Board and Heart Trust. This initiative will provide improved compensation and reintegration support for our farm workers, including skills training for those who are injured on the job and unable to return. These individuals are now going to receive benefits equivalent to their Canadian counterparts, and those pursuing self-employment are going to be supported again with financial aid through the transition. Madam Speaker, we want to thank the team in the ministry and the liaison officers in the United States and Canada for their hard work and ongoing commitment in realizing this initiative. We are continuing the mission to deliver today and to secure tomorrow. In closing, Madam Speaker, in a time when the world faces uncertainty, Jamaica has chosen resilience. Through thoughtful policy, hard work, and the will of our people, we are not only enduring, we are progressing as we deliver today and secure tomorrow. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security stands at the heart of this national effort, empowering workers, expanding protection, and laying the foundation for a more secure future. Madam Speaker, we will continue efforts to develop the country towards a future of work that is inclusive, that is innovative, and empowering for all Jamaicans across every generation. Madam Speaker, we are delivering today, and we're securing tomorrow. For our senior citizens, the increase in pension benefits marks a bold and compassionate step to protect those who built this country. Again, we are delivering today and securing tomorrow for the most vulnerable among us, with PATH now providing higher benefits and broader coverage for more families, more Jamaicans will eat, more children will learn, and more Jamaicans will thrive. We are delivering today, securing tomorrow, by matching skills with opportunity. For the first time in our history, as I said, we're going to be rolling out a comprehensive national skills database, ensuring that talent is not just trained, but it is tracked, monitored, nurtured, and employed. We are delivering today, securing tomorrow through innovation. The new Jamaica Jobs platform is going to connect Jamaicans directly to real employment prospects, eliminating barriers and building an economy that works for the people. We are delivering today and securing tomorrow, Madam Speaker, by taking our people global. As I said, our overseas employment program is expanding. And for many families, this represents not just a job, but a life-changing opportunity. We are delivering today and securing tomorrow with efficiency. The digitization of our work permit process and the launch of Operation Streamline are cutting red tape, improving access, and making it easier for employers and workers alike. Finally, we are delivering today and securing tomorrow with bold vision. With the implementation of unemployment insurance, it means that no Jamaican will be left behind to suffer in silence during periods of job loss. Not to mention our solidarity program, which is a symbol of what we can achieve when a government, citizen, and stakeholders work together to support those most in need. Madam Speaker, this is not just a checklist of achievements. This is a roadmap of responsibility. It is the manifestation of a government that listens, learns, and leads with action. Madam Speaker, with that in mind, let us press forward with purpose. Let us stand firm, Madam Speaker, in unity. Let us continue to deliver today so that Jamaica, as we choose Jamaica, may truly secure tomorrow. One love.
House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I'm sure that this Honorable House will agree that that was really a powerful presentation from the Minister of Labour and Social Security. I now invite you, Madam Speaker, to ask the member from East Kingston and Port Royal to make his presentation.
Thank you, House Leader. Members, please make welcome to his feet the Leader of Opposition Business in the House, the member from East and Port Royal, Kingston, Eastern, and Port Royal. Members.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I'm proud to say that this year marks my 30th year of service to this Parliament. I did 2 years, the State of the Nation debate in the upper house, and this is my 28th presentation here as representative of the people of East Kingston and Port Royal. Thanks be to God. God is good. All the time. Madam Speaker, I regard service to one's country and people as one of the highest forms of service. I have served willingly and joyfully through good and bad times. And Madam Speaker, if I were given the opportunity to relive my life, I would repeat what for me has been a life of total dedication and commitment to my country and my people. Today, I rise to address this House on the portfolios of energy, climate change, and agriculture. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, in all of this, I have come to recognize one thing that the Jamaican people want. The Jamaican people want to be happy. They are not looking to be in a perpetual state of ecstasy. They simply want a roof over their heads, a viable job, live in a safe community, and general contentment that their families are doing and living well. But Jamaicans, Madam Speaker, are not happy today. Madam Speaker, if they were, we would have had elections already. At this point, Madam Speaker, the Jamaican people have rejected and dismissed any notion, any whispering of prosperity. They see the country heading in the wrong direction. And if prosperity were any further out of reach, we would need a telescope to spot it. The Jamaican people, having given this JLP government 2 terms to try to make them happy and bring them so-called prosperity, are disappointed and dissatisfied. They now want a change. A change that will give them greater power over their lives, a change that will see them as the center of all positive development, a change to a new government that cares for the people. And Madam Speaker, there are many reasons for this unhappiness. But for me today, I'm going to focus on one in particular: the high cost of living. This has been a feature of life for the past 9 years. And with the high cost of living comes stagnant income because our economy itself is not growing. Madam Speaker, a major factor driving both the high cost of living and the lack of growth is energy. The high cost of electricity has been a staple in Jamaica for the past 9 years. Our consumers pay high bills at home and then pay higher prices for basic goods and services, again affected by the high price of electricity. Meanwhile, our economy limps along uncompetitive and weighed down by these costs. Madam Speaker, every year when I address this Parliament, I not only speak about the problems facing the energy sector, but I also provide proposals towards solutions. Yet my suggestions are largely ignored by the government. Thank God this is the final government 23 as leverage to start to effect some changes from then. I said so in 2023. I repeated last year. I even spelled out some of the specific things that they could do. For example, we have been fighting to get the operators in the special economic zone to be able to generate and provide their own electricity. I think this could have been achieved before if you're smart about it and if you negotiate well. So we are without that today. And of course, true to form, the advice and guidance was ignored. During the Standing Finance Committee earlier this year in February, I reminded everyone that on the 7th of July this year, the government must inform JPSCO of its intentions about the negotiations for a new license. Because if it doesn't, the license that currently exists will be renewed automatically. The government responded by saying that the World Bank was going to be providing assistance. And I'm disappointed because after 9 years, the only thing this government has mastered is to outsource its homework. This is work that should have started in 2023 when I gave notice. Stakeholders have told me, Minister, and you have confirmed that the World Bank team was recently here conducting interviews. Minister, I would have expected if a team from the World Bank is coming to offer guidance, then the first stop, or one of the first stops, should be to the opposition. This is a matter that transcends politics. The minister told me last week that when the team comes back, I'll be given an opportunity. I'll be given an opportunity. So, Madam Speaker, I say to the government, we are now in May, and the government is only in the preliminary stages of consultation. I repeat, this consultation should have started 2 years ago and completed by now. I'm also very concerned, Madam Speaker, that the Energy Council, which was established in 2012 to address issues just like this, has not been convened to provide guidance. Minister, could you say, when you speak, what is the status of the Energy Council? Is this government committed to meaningful consultation with stakeholders in the sector? So let me be clear, Madam Speaker. The negotiations for a new JPSCO license is fundamental to our future, and especially crucial to the twin issues of cost of living and lack of growth. The situation is nothing like it was in 2001, and the minister keeps on saying that I was the one who signed the 2001 license. I was a part of the administration, so I can't deny responsibility, but I was not the minister, just to be clear. Right? So now, Madam Speaker, just as the previous administration, which we were a part of, was bold and visionary in negotiating better terms with cable and wireless in 2000, we too must be bold now in terms of JPS. If the World Bank had reached out to me, and when they do, I would have suggested the following areas for reform. Firstly, Madam Speaker, I think the time has passed when we should be granting 20-year license. Yeah. I think because of technology, we need now to look at what changes can happen in a life cycle of a license. And I don't believe that we should be contemplating licenses beyond 10 years. In fact, I would be satisfied with a 5-year license. Makes sense. Madam Speaker, I would also like to suggest to the Minister, in contemplating what to do in July of this year, that this right of first refusal that the JPSCO now has, which gives them the right to put on new generation without contemplating other sources, other suppliers, that that right be abolished and that all future generation be done by international competitive tendering. And thirdly, Madam Speaker, I think now is the time, having lost the opportunity before, to allow the special economic zone operators to be able to provide their own electricity and to supply within the zone. I believe after this, you're going to see exponential growth in the area of economic zones. I also want, Minister, and even though you brought regulations here recently, I believe that JPSCO has to be forced to come to the table to implement the wheeling arrangements that are now in regulations, but they have not been forced to implement. And also, Madam Speaker, we believe that the time has come for a revolution in solar rooftop provisioning, and that can be a tremendous source of power to our people, and I'll come back to that later on. And also, as you contemplate the new license, there is need, Madam Speaker, for greater consumer rights measures to be in place. For example, the removal of exemption of liability, which I believe are provisions that are unconscionable. And we also have to have more elaborate guarantees for service standard in relation to JPSCO. So let me be clear. Our intentions, we are not here to destroy JPSCO. Far from it. The government owns shares in the company. We are here to lower the price of electricity for our people, so that our people will progress with a lower standard of cost of living and greater economic growth. When the economy grows, everyone benefits, including JPSCO and other producers. Right now, our average electricity use is shockingly low because people can't afford to do what they want with more use of electricity. In developed societies, usage is 2 to 3 times greater than it is in Jamaica. Yes. When the price of electricity is reduced, JPSCO will benefit from increased usage. And also, there are other opportunities for revenue streams by the JPSCO. There's a growing market for electric vehicles, and so on and so forth. Madam Speaker, I'm not going to be distracted by the Minister. I want to turn quickly to the issue of electricity theft. Madam Speaker, I will soon be sounding like a stock record on the issue of the stealing of electricity. The fact is that in 2021, I provided this House with detailed suggestions on how this problem can be dealt with by the government. I followed up with a private member's motion from then to engage in a meaningful debate focusing on the role of government as a major player to solve this national problem. To date, nothing has happened, so that consumers continue to bear an additional expense of about 20% to their electricity bills. Let me quote from the Minister's sectoral presentation last year. He says, among the Ministry's priority initiatives is the non-technical loss reduction. And he went on to give an elaborate statement as to what is being done to lower the level of electricity theft. And the strategy that he outlined would cost $74.5 million US. From the announcement of those interventions last year, we have heard nothing. And so I am hoping that when the Minister speaks next week, we are going to hear about what has happened in relation to the promises that were made to reduce the amount of electricity. Well, let me go to that right now, because I want to talk about GCT on electricity bills. Yes. So, Madam Speaker, recently the government attempted to provide a benefit to consumers by adjusting the GCT on electricity bills. The net effect has caused confusion. Yes. Yeah. Firstly, consumers using below 150 kilowatt-hour per month will now, for the first time, be paying GCT at 7%. They were granted a subsidy and a rebate of 10%, so thereby the benefit was a 3% positive benefit. But this smacks of electioneering, Madam Speaker. You know why? Because we don't know today when that subsidy and rebate will be removed. When you give a subsidy and you offer a rebate, especially in a situation where you don't control the operations of the company, then you need to indicate what is the specific time frame for this rebate and subsidy. What it means is once those rebate and subsidies fall, those people who were not paying GCT up to that point in time will be paying 7% on their bills. Also, Madam Speaker, the Minister did announce about a prepaid facility that they were going to do to encourage people to become a part of the formal market. For the first time, these people, Minister, are going to be charged GCT on their bills. So I believe the Minister, when he speaks, will have to provide clarification, because we were told that this was a benefit, and it really is not operating in that way. Minister, I won't even bother this year to go into Petrojam. I will wait next week on your presentation to hear about what is the future of Petrojam. Last year they suffered a loss, and I believe it has a lot to do with the indecision as to the future of Petrojam. But I want to turn now, Madam Speaker, to an issue I alluded to earlier. A major plank of our policy is to promote the rapid expansion in the deployment by individuals of renewable energy, especially using solar technology. A special incentive scheme will be announced shortly, focusing on access to low-cost financing and a much straightforward process to secure energy licenses with a built-in attractive feed-in tariffs. Madam Speaker, our future PNP government has committed to build 50,000 houses, affordable houses, within 5 years. And it's amazing, party leader of opposition, how people have gravitated to the notion that we're going to be solving the problem of housing for poor people finally. So, Madam Speaker, with those 50,000 houses, we are going to be giving power to the people. They will have through solar rooftop sufficient electricity for their needs, and they will also be able to expand beyond their needs to provide electricity for the national grid at a lower cost than currently the grid is able to accommodate. So this is what we mean by power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. Mr. Minister, you'll be happy to know that I am moving now quickly to the issue of climate change, and then I have to deal with agriculture. Madam Speaker, climate change is the single greatest threat to the future of humanity. It is now firmly placed in the category of an existential crisis. The need for urgent and meaningful measures from all nations is as great now as it was when the Paris summit in 2016 was held and various commitments were made. Our party, we on this side, remain committed to a number of principles. The international pledge to restrict the growth for global temperatures to rise by less than 2 degrees Celsius. 2, climate justice and common but differentiated responsibilities. This is in recognition of the duty of developed countries to do more and go further in their commitments as a result of their historical responsibility for greenhouse gas emissions. Our advocacy on this aspect will be far more assertive than we see now by this current government. Financing and Green Climate Fund, the GCF, which sets aside finances to climate change mitigation and adaptation, is a crucial plank of the climate agenda, and we intend to push that further. Then, Madam Speaker, we are going to be focusing also a lot on the reduction of emissions from forestry. This is an area that we have largely overlooked. The reduction in greenhouse gas emission from deforestation and forest destruction have been quite enormous. We are also supportive of measurements, reporting and verification in terms of how the continued impact of greenhouse gases is having on our global marketplace. And then finally, in terms of our principles, we intend to also work towards this green energy transition, which is the replacement of fossil fuels by various forms of renewable energy. And Madam Speaker, the ongoing battle for dealing with the climate change crisis must continue to be a global one, that Jamaica must be at the forefront. So we welcome the recent appointment of Professor Dale Weber as Jamaica's first special envoy for climate change, and we wish him well. We now await his frequent briefings to this Parliament. Madam Speaker, I believe this issue is so crucial to our future that we need at this Parliament to establish a standing parliamentary committee just to deal with climate change issues. And rather than Professor Dale reporting just to the Minister, he really ought to come here on a regular basis to report to the Parliament on what are the issues taking place, what is Jamaica doing, and I therefore propose that we have a climate change committee for Parliament.
Visionary.
Madam Speaker, we know that Jamaica, like so many small island developing states, is particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change, not only in terms of our natural resources, but also our social well-being and our economic development. Subsectors such as tourism, agriculture, fisheries, forestry, and water are very climate sensitive. Yet we saw recently the unregulated development and destruction of mangroves at Fort Rocky. And prior to that, in 2020, we saw NEPA's permit denial for quarry mining in Dry Harbor Mountains being overturned by the Prime Minister himself for economic benefit in spite of the irreversible damage that would be caused to a limestone forest. Actions like these are untenable. I'm going on to agriculture. Madam Speaker, let me turn to a matter fundamental to our nation's future, our agriculture sector. Still under the theme, championing change, I present today an honest assessment of where we stand and, more importantly, where we must go. Our agriculture sector, the backbone of Jamaica's economy and rural communities, is at a crossroads. It is time to rally together, take decisive action, and champion the change our farmers and our nation urgently need. My colleague and spokesman on agriculture, Dr. Dayton Campbell, has already highlighted many of the critical issues, and I join him today in emphasizing the need for bold reforms. While the minister has made some efforts, they have been woefully inadequate if we want to maximize the full potential of agriculture and to do right by our farmers. So let's not sugarcoat it. Agriculture is more than just a sector. It is the backbone of Jamaica. Supporting over 262,000 farmers, farm families, and contributing about 9.2% to our GDP, it sustains countless livelihoods and provides employment for 20% of our workforce. Yet, despite its importance, our sector faces significant challenges that threaten its very future. Challenges that the minister is either blind to or simply refuses to see. Over 80% of Jamaican agriculture remains subsistence level, small scale, often unprofitable, and vulnerable to even passing cloud and market whim. In the fourth quarter of 2024, we saw a 12% decline in agriculture, contributing to a 1.8% downturn in the broader economy. When our agricultural sector suffers, so does our economic stability. But the minister, it seems, is content to fiddle while Rome burns. Our major challenges include limited access to land, inadequate infrastructure like irrigation, roads and storage, insufficient financing, and poor market access. Predial lasting continues to plague our farmers, eroding their income and discouraging investment. If we do not address these issues head-on, we risk further decline and the erosion of our agricultural heritage, leaving future generations to wonder how a nation so rich in land and talent could be brought so low by poor vision and even poorer governance. Left unattended, these problems will not simply disappear. They will become entrenched, making it even harder for our farmers to provide for their families or compete in a modern world. Madam Speaker, it is high time we stop treating these chronic issues as background noise and start treating them as a national emergency. They truly are. Time come, time come. Land, Madam Speaker, is the foundation of productive agriculture. Jamaica's land reform history is rich, from post-emancipation initiatives to the Land Settlement Act and the PNP's land lease program. Sadly, however, the agri-parks, which we introduced in 2005, have underperformed. Only 30% of the available land is currently being utilized. This shows the government's lack of commitment to producing locally. We are committed to expediting the issuance of land titles, because a farmer with no title is like a runner in a race with his shoes tied together, going nowhere fast. Land titles will enable our farmers to access real financing and have collateral they can usually use. We'll tailor-made, Madam Speaker, leases to specific farm activities, introduce performance-based leasehold improvements, and reform our land tax regime. Moreover, prioritizing youth and women in land distribution will promote inclusivity and innovation. Idle lands must be acquired and redistributed to serious farmers, those who will cultivate, innovate, and grow. Madam Speaker, access to finance remains a critical barrier. We propose developing an agricultural development fund that will provide targeted, sustained investments. This fund will support infrastructure, will support research, will support technology adoption, and disaster risk mitigation. A percentage of this fund will also be allocated to the PC banks, enabling it to offer loans to farmers. This will ensure that our agricultural sector receives the financial backing it so desperately needs. Madam Speaker, to further stimulate growth, we propose the creation of an agricultural free zone, strictly for export-led production. This zone will attract investment in agro-processing, value-added production, and exports. It will offer tax incentives, modernized facilities, and streamline regulatory support, creating an environment where innovation flourishes, jobs are created, and Jamaica becomes a competitive player in global markets. This, Madam Speaker, is what you call planting seeds for the future, not just planting headlines for tomorrow's newspaper. Madam Speaker, only 15%.
House Leader, the member's time for speaking has expired.
Madam Speaker, the member's time for speaking having been expired. I beg to move that it be extended by 15 minutes to allow him to complete his presentation. The
Question is that the member's time be extended by 15 minutes to allow him to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and for all the members who have requested that I continue my presentation. Madam Speaker, believe it or not, only 15% of our arable land is today irrigated. Our National Irrigation Development Plan must be fully implemented and expanded so farmers can produce year-round, rain or shine. Improving farm roads is equally vital. Right now, some of our farmers need a 4x4 or sometimes a boat just to get their produce to market. Cold storage capacity must be expanded. And in the meantime, we must implement solar refrigerated containers to reduce post-harvest losses and to ensure fresh produce reaches consumers promptly. A modern, efficient infrastructure network is the backbone of a resilient agricultural sector. Our current financing landscape, Madam Speaker, is frankly a desert. Only $147 million, Jamaican dollars, in loans were disbursed in 2023. That's not support, Madam Speaker. That's pocket change. The PNP will increase budget allocations and promote public-private partnerships in machinery, irrigation, cold storage, and marketing. Collaboration with the private sector is essential to drive innovation and efficiency. Unlike the current approach, we don't believe in all talk and no tractor. Madam Speaker, in today's digital age, technology offers unprecedented opportunities. We will leverage digital platforms to connect farmers directly with buyers, hoteliers, distributors, and retailers, cutting out the middleman and cutting out the old excuses for extortionate prices. We propose implementing an agricultural monitoring system that utilizes drones for crop monitoring and fertilizer spraying, technologies that enable precision agriculture. Drones will provide real-time data on crop health, pest outbreaks, soil conditions, and irrigation needs, allowing farmers to apply fertilizers precisely where needed to reduce waste and to increase yields. Additionally, we will promote hydroponic farming practices to maximize productivity and resource efficiency. Then, Madam Speaker, we intend to partner with the UWI, with CASE, and other institutions. We will invest in research into plant varieties, animal genetics, and modern farming systems. Our research facilities at Bodles, Orange River, Montpelier must be strengthened to support innovation. Madam Speaker, predial larceny remains a scourge. To combat it, we will propose that predial larceny be included under the Proceeds of Crime Act. If someone is convicted of stealing farm produce, their assets must be liquidated to restore the farm to its previous state. Additionally, we will move the burden of proof in these cases from the claimant to the defendant, ensuring that those accused of theft must prove they came by the goods lawfully. Also, Madam Speaker, we propose a comprehensive school feeding program. According to the FAO, 55% of Jamaicans are suffering from food insecurity, and among school children, this translates to approximately 260,000 children. So while the government has announced an increase in the breakfast program, it is still not enough. We will establish a proper school feeding program where all needy students receive at least one nutritious meal per day with ingredients sourced from local farmers. Madam Speaker, we have a SMART program, a sustainable management of agriculture through research and technology. We will facilitate the upgrade of livestock genetics to improve productivity. For example, heifers in Jamaica currently produce around 7 liters of milk per day, while their counterparts elsewhere produce up to 18 liters. We will also plan to assist our fisher folks in expanding freshwater fishing and upgrading livestock genetics. Madam Speaker, this SMART plan will include the use of drones not only for land preparation, but also for crop monitoring and fertilizer spraying. This will also support more efficient resource use and higher yields. Additionally, we will promote hydroponic farming practices to increase yields and conserve resources. So, Madam Speaker, agriculture is the heart of Jamaica's sustainable future. With only 15% of our land irrigated, 30% utilization of agri-parks, and a food importation bill that has nearly doubled from US $834 million in 2016 to US $1.5 billion today, not due to inflation, but because of increased tonnage, we face a crisis that cannot be ignored. The government had pledged to reduce the food importation bill by 25% by 2025, yet we have made no such progress. Under no circumstances can the Minister of Agriculture believe that they are doing a good job. It is time to act decisively for the farmers of St. James, Westmoreland, St. Anne, Trelawney, and all other parishes. And St. Elizabeth, Yes. We must do right by our farmers. and secure a brighter future for all Jamaicans. We are committed to championing these changes in agriculture. So, Madam Speaker, I close this presentation with a deep sense of urgency and a firm belief that we have been running out of time. Jamaica is facing an energy crisis. We remain too dependent on imported fuel while the rest of the world surges ahead with renewables. We are vulnerable, we are exposed, and we are unprepared. We are also one of the most climate vulnerable countries on earth. Yet we behave as though we have the luxury of time. We do not. Rising seas, extreme droughts, and the stronger hurricanes are already here, and they are only getting worse. And Madam Speaker, our food security is hanging on by a thread. More Jamaicans are hungry today than a decade ago. Farmers are struggling, inputs are expensive, imports are rising, and still no clear plan to feed our people in a time of global instability. This is not just mismanagement, it is a failure of vision that Jamaica can no longer afford. We need bold, courageous, and competent leadership to move us from crisis to resilience. We need leaders who understand that energy, climate, and food are not separate issues, but the backbone of national security and development. Our party, with the member from South St. Andrew as our leader, we are ready to take charge of this government. We are ready to implement the transformative policies that Jamaica desperately needs. Not tomorrow, not next year, but this year. This is not the time for small thinking. This is not the time for empty promises. This is a time for change in order to progress real growth. And only the People's National Party has the courage, the plans, and the political will to deliver that change, so that our children inherit a country that is sustainable, sovereign, and secure. Madam Speaker, time come to champion change. Let's secure Jamaica future now.
All right. Madam Speaker.
House Leader.
All right. Madam Speaker, certainly that's one of the few speeches in this House that have really created a furor in this House. But Madam Speaker, I want to thank the member for his presentation. And in close, and Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the suspension of the debate until Tuesday, May 20th, when the Speaker will be the Minister of Transport.
Members.
Telecommunications.
Members.
The member from Portland Western, and he will be the only speaker for the day. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader. Members, the question is that the sectoral debate be suspended. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Public business will now continue with the Minister of Finance dealing with the report on the insolvency JSC. May it please you.
Thank you, House Leader. Minister of Finance and the Public Service.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motions, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing orders be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the 25th day of November 2022, on a motion made by the Honourable Senator Aubin Hill, Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, the Honourable Senate passed a resolution to appoint a select committee in order to conduct a statutory review of the Security Interests in Personal Property Act, SIPA. The committee held its first meeting on July 13, 2023, after which notices inviting submissions from the public were placed in the Sunday Observer and the Sunday Gleaner on July 16, 2023, on the Parliament's website and social media pages, and was aired on the radio. The committee received submissions in writing and in most cases also orally from the following entities: the Bank of Jamaica, the Development Bank of Jamaica, the Jamaica Agricultural Society, the Jamaica Association for Microfinancing, the Jamaica Bankers Association, the Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union League, Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, the Jamaican Bar Association, Kingston Creative, Lasco Microfinancial Limited, the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, and the University of the West Indies Faculty of Social Sciences. The proposal submitted sought to enhance the SIPA regime. SIPA means the Security Interest in Personal Property Act, to allow for better utilization of movable property as collateral to secure credit. In the committee's deliberations, stakeholders such as financial institutions, including the commercial banks, were encouraged to incorporate the SIPA framework as part of their loan portfolio. The committee approved the report at its final meeting held on January 23, 2025, and the report was tabled in the Senate on Friday, February 14, 2025. The report is set to be taken, the report was taken on Friday, February 21, 2025. The SIPA, which came into operation on February 2, 2014, creates a legal framework for expanding access to domestic credit and minimizing the risk of default on loans. Prior to its promulgation, well-established businesses and owners of conventional forms of collateral with easily verified titles, particularly houses, land, and motor vehicles, benefited disproportionately from credit access. Such assets were preferred because ownership could not be transferred without notifying a secured creditor whose interest would be protected. This preference placed new entrepreneurs and other borrowers at a disadvantage, potentially hampering economic growth. Madam Speaker, the Act therefore sought to streamline the process of using personal or movable property as collateral for a loan, to eliminate uncertainty regarding the pledged property or the entity to which it was pledged, and to grant a secured creditor the right to seize the property in the event of default. This would assist persons who did not possess the conventional collateral to use movable property to secure financing from lending institutions. Madam Speaker, the committee's general observations and recommendations are as follows. Number one, constraints relating to the storage and disposal of secured property. Several stakeholders identified the lack of a robust market for the sale of used items in Jamaica as a hindrance to their participation in the SIP regime. Therefore, the committee recommended that the SIP regime be improved by enabling individuals to employ various methods for the seizure and sale of assets used as security through a user-friendly online platform. This regime will allow for auctions to be held both in person and online, making the process more accessible. Number two, challenges arising from the difficulty of objectively ascertaining the value of various forms of personal and intellectual property. It was further observed that there is currently no structured approach to the valuation of crops, and while there are persons in Jamaica who have developed valuation expertise over time, there are not enough of them. Madam Speaker, similar challenges were identified in relation to valuing intellectual property. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society has been in dialogue with the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining concerning the creation of a structured and dedicated crop valuation unit. Moreover, JIPO has established partnerships with international entities to provide training in valuing intellectual property for members of the local financial sector. Additionally, the DBJ has sought to partner with the Agro-Investment Corporation, an agency, an agency of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining to develop strategies to enable private banks to objectively assess agricultural project proposals and to back them confidently. The committee recommended the development of these stakeholder relationships. 3, the role of people's cooperative banks in financing small agricultural businesses. During the committee's deliberations, it was noted that the people's cooperative banks had deviated from their original function of supporting small farmers, and farmers were now reluctant to do business with them. The committee was advised that the PC banks had become fearful of accepting personal property as security due to the negative experiences with such transactions. The committee recommended, however, that defaults by borrowers, including farmers, should not deter the financial institutions from lending to them. It was recommended that the institutions engage the small farmers regarding the importance of compliance. 4, strengthening the capacity of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to participate in the formal financial sector. During the committee's deliberations, several persons noted the importance of enabling proprietors of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to keep track of their income and expenditure to ensure that they could present credible records to financial institutions when they sought funding for their businesses. The committee also received information that the DBJ was pursuing partnerships with entities such as the Jamaica Business Development Corporation to train farmers, in particular, to understand, prepare, and keep proper financial records. Were you in the committee? Better identification of security interests. The committee noted that in order to better identify security interests, the definition of serial numbered property should be widened to include items other than motor vehicles, such as boats or aircrafts that can be used as security under the Act. Madam Speaker, also the amendments will stipulate that the absence of an accurate serial number for any serial numbered property covered by a notice invalidates that registration notice. This amendment will rectify a current issue, namely where a search of the registry may not reveal the existence of a registration notice due to inaccuracies. Madam Speaker, it was suggested that the creation of a system for guaranteeing loans under the Act might increase confidence in and therefore use of the SIP regime. The committee was also informed that the DBJ provided guarantees for loans, including microloans, but it had been very difficult to get banks and microfinance institutions to take advantage of this facility. The committee therefore recommended that the DBJ be tasked with designing a more inclusive loan guarantee system to incentivize lending under this Act and through other facilities. Madam Speaker, the committee was pleased to learn that more women-owned businesses than businesses owned by men had secured loans under the Act. It was noted that broadening women's credit access by this means was important, as efforts to increase the availability of land titles were yielding fruit more quickly for men than for women, and non-traditional collateral would help them to obtain financing in the absence of these documents. Furthermore, a stakeholder made the observation that it was not desirable for women's titles to their homes to be used as collateral for loans below a certain value, as this had negative implications for family life and the well-being of the nation's children, and the committee agreed. Madam Speaker, during the committee's deliberations, the need for wider dissemination of information on the existence and operation of the Act became apparent. More generally, knowledge concerning credit access, financial literacy, and related matters is lacking among the general population. The committee therefore recommended that there be a public education campaign to promote knowledge and use of the provisions of the Act to enhance financial literacy in Jamaica. Other recommendations, Madam Speaker, is to expand the recognition of security interests, to promote registration, goods free of security interests. It was also proposed that the Act be amended to allow buyers and lessees of consumer goods whose value exceeds $10,000 to take the goods free of any security interest not perfect at the time of sale or lease. This will also promote the registration of security interest under the Act. The committee also recommended that the Act be amended by inserting a provision requiring secured creditors who agree to modify the priority of the security interest in the Act to give notice of the said modification. The committee also proposed that the Act be amended to allow a secured creditor to sell one or more of the accounts receivable used to secure an obligation in the event of default, to provide the secured creditor with more options to recover in the event of default, and this is new. The committee also recommended that a secured creditor should be allowed to recover reasonable expenses of collection in the event of a default on a loan. Disposition of intellectual property, Madam Speaker, it was recommended that provision regarding the disposition of intellectual property be included to allow the secured creditor to determine how the amount secured by the intellectual property is to be calculated for the purpose of disposition. Further, Madam Speaker, recommendation was made that the Act should be amended to require that a registration notice specify the maximum amount of indebtedness that can be secured by the property identified therein. Madam Speaker, the committee also recommended that the Act be modified to ensure that where a notice is amended, only those secured creditors who authorize the amendment will be bound by it. Madam Speaker, it's also proposed that the Act be amended to make it mandatory rather than discretionary for the registrar to refuse to register notices lacking accurate information regarding the debtor's identity or other important details. And that is the end of the report for the Security Interest in Personal Property Act, Madam Speaker. And in terms of the brief from the Joint Select Committee of both Houses of Parliament, the next one. Okay, Madam. Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
Minister, contribution? No.
Very
the
brief.
opposition, the opposition leader would like to make a contribution.
Madam Speaker, just a brief word on it. The Security Interest in Personal Property Act introduced a comprehensive new system for collateralized lending and extensions of credit in Jamaica. Prior to that, we had an old English law, common law-based system with various statutory elements to it, which were different depending on the particular subject matter or type of asset involved. And what the Security Interest in Personal Property Act has done is to bring all of that, other than real estate mortgages, which have their own system under the Registration of Titles Act, but everything else pretty much is covered by the SIPA scheme. It's a coherent scheme as to how claims are to be ranked with their competing security interests in an asset, and it's a web-based system for perfection, and it sets out all the legal rules relating to transactions involving secured lending. It is very complicated. The principles are straightforward, but some of the terminology is not. And when we were enacting this legislation, we were very fortunate to have the input of an expert, a Canadian expert, who was a well-established practitioner in that area of law in Canada, and our legislation drew heavily from the Canadian legislation. They have a similar model. It all really originates out of the US, Article 9, which was a real first attempt internationally to bring a coherent, codified system to secured lending, and then other systems built on that or derived from that, SIPA being ultimately one. I have had a quick look at this report, and I do think it's important that some technical expertise be brought to bear to review some of these recommendations to ensure that they fit coherently within the overall scheme and don't give rise to legal problems down the road. So I'm looking forward to that being done, and I'm hoping to be able to get an electronic copy of the report so that I can facilitate that process as well. This is vital to Jamaica's economy. The flow of credit is an important aspect of the flow of capital, which is underpinning economic activity, and therefore we need to ensure that the legislation that we're talking about here is streamlined, is coherent, is user-friendly, and fit for purpose. The other report that was tabled today, which I think the Minister is about to go into, is complementary in a sense. It covers a different legal regime, but both of these are relating to commerce and finance and the implications of it in terms of economic performance. So I'm sure similar comments would lie in relation to that report, because the Insolvency Act is also similar in the sense that it was built on a modern system, a codification of insolvency law, which in Jamaica's case, prior to the Insolvency Act, was based on some very old principles embodied in rules that had been derived under the old Bankruptcy Act, and which were really not focused on procedures to rehabilitate potentially viable enterprises that had fallen into financial difficulties, but were rather supremely focused on creditors getting back what they could from whatever assets were available. So that also, I think, needs to be carefully looked through from a technical point of view by people who know what they're doing, people who are experts in this area, because both areas are still new to Jamaica, and we don't want to introduce any kind of incoherence in what we're doing. And so I would recommend that we avail ourselves of that opportunity before enacting any changes pursuant to these reports. And I will make myself available to comment on any aspect of this as somebody who has been involved in it from day one. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Opposition Leader. Members, the Minister had asked that the motion notice of which he gave earlier be approved. Question is that the motion be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, you have an additional.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This next one is a report of the Joint Select Committee about Houses of Parliament, appointed to review the Insolvency Act 2024. Madam Speaker, by way of background, Section 308 of the Act provides that the Act must be reviewed by a committee of both Houses of Parliament no later than 5 years from the appointed date. As such, on July 8, 2022, members from the Senate were appointed to sit jointly with a similar committee appointed by the House of Representatives to carry out the statutory review of the Insolvency Act. Madam Speaker, the first meeting of the committee was held on July 13, 2023. During the review of the Act, written and oral submissions were invited. Submissions were made by the following groups: the Jamaican Bar Association, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Duncox, Attorneys at Law, Pattison Mayer Hamilton, Attorneys at Law, and Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica. Support was provided to the committee by technocrats, including the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Office of the Supervisor of Insolvency, Attorney General's Chambers, Legal Reform Department, and the Office of the Parliamentary Counsel. The proposals submitted to the committee seek to amend the Act to ensure greater consistency between the Act and the Insolvency Regulations 2015, simplify the procedures for insolvency practitioners, facilitate compliance with international best practice, correct errors in relation to references, and rephrase certain sections to make them more comprehensive. The report was approved by the committee at its final meeting held on December 5, 2024. Subsequently, the report was tabled in the Senate on January 31, 2025. Madam Speaker, for background, the Insolvency Act was passed on October 31, 2014, and established a legal framework which, inter alia, serves to create an environment that aids in the rehabilitation of debtors and the preservation of viable companies, having due regard to the protection of the rights of creditors and other stakeholders, and a fair allocation of the costs of insolvencies, with the overriding interest of strengthening and protecting the country's economic and financial system. The committee gave specific recommendations. One, it clarified that a stay of proceedings upon filing proposals applies to all creditors, Section 5. Madam Speaker, it allowed the supervisor to certify a newly appointed trustee, where that individual was appointed at the meeting of the creditors, Section 14. It provides for certain measures to be contemplated by the trustee in the drafting of the proposal, Section 16. It allows for the withdrawal of security or surety tendered with a proposal, Section 17. It specifies the purpose of adjournments of meetings, Section 23. Provides for the debtor's right of appeal to the court where proposals are unfairly rejected, Section 40. It allows the supervisor to issue a certificate where a proposal is approved, Section 39. It allows for the removal and replacement of a director impeding the acceptance of a viable proposal, that's a new section. It allows debtors to apply to the court for authorization to sell or otherwise dispose of property prior to proposal, Section 48. It allows for preservation of the supply of goods and services to the debtor by a critical supplier. This is a new section. Provides for the details that should be included in interim reports filed by receivers, a new section. Requires the trustee to notify the registrar of companies of the grant of the assignment in the case of a company, Section 83. Allows the supervisor to issue a certificate of automatic discharge of first-time individual bankrupt, Section 139. It allows the trustee to apply for the discharge of the bankrupt by the court, Section 144. Requires the trustee to file a notice of compliance where the court makes an order for conditional discharge, Section 148. It provides for a prescribed form for claims by creditors, Section 155. It allows hybrid meetings of creditors, new section. Secures the interest of secured creditors in the ranking of claims, Section 202. It allows rent to be given preferential treatment under the Act, also Section 202. It allows the supervisor to issue directive, section 223, and it allowed further amendments to the insolvency regulations 2015 to make consistent with these approved proposed amendments to the Act. And finally, Madam Speaker, as a general approved recommendation, it was proposed that the Act be amended to replace the words 21 days with 30 working days throughout the Act to provide adequate time for the meeting of creditors to be held at various stages. Proposals were also made to amend the Act to correct reference and grammatical errors, rephrase provisions, to provide for greater clarity and prescribed forms. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the opposition supports the process. As was pointed out, the work ahead is really the more critical work. And because of the implication of these two pieces of legislation for the financial architecture and the economy of the country, as the Leader of Opposition indicated, and it's our observation that as it was in the beginning when the legislation was put in place, we had to seek specialist legal and technical advice. This is required now in the amendments coming out of these recommendations, and we strongly urge that that be done to ensure coherence with the broad policy framework and how it operates and is likely to impact on the economy and the financial architecture. So with that, we are supportive. The process was detailed. We believe some good suggestions were made. How these then becomes effected in law and in the amendments made, I think is where we have to pay particularized attention to ensure that we get a piece of legislation that is fit for purpose. With that, I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition Business. Minister.
Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
Members, the question is that the motion, notice of which the Minister gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, it's not intended to do any further business for the day. I therefore move that the House...
House Leader, a moment, please.
No, man, I did today. Yes, I did today. Sorry, Madam Speaker, just to remind the Minister that I did today on his behalf. So it's not intended to do any further business today. I therefore move that this Honourable House be adjourned until Tuesday, May 20th at 2 p.m. at the George William Gordon House. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
The question is that the House do now adjourn until Tuesday at 2 p.m. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This Honourable House now stands adjourned.
which is equal to 156 kilograms. In the early sugar plantation days, the British planters collected the cut stone blocks which were used as ballast on ships which were returning sugar from the colonies to Britain, and used them to build their plantation houses. The chapel at UWI Mona was erected from some of these blocks. Ballast is defined as any solid or liquid that is brought on board